Now joining us on the guest line as promised, head pro team MMA coach of Fight Ready in Arizona. Look at this guy, obviously here right on the screws. Santino DeFranco is with us. This guy's a businessman. He's an entrepreneur. He's a Renaissance man. No surprise that he answered the wake-up call this morning. Good morning, my man. How are you?
Good morning. Good to see you. So should I hold my phone vertical or horizontal on this? Does it matter?
Cody can chime in. I mean, you look great to me. Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah, you sound
like I'm
good.
Sideways.
So you are like embedded in this MMA betting space as well with your podcast and predictions and everything else. I know you have a new studio, if I'm not mistaken. So we have a million things we would like to get into with you today, but I guess let's start there. You're pretty avid when it comes to tracking these lines and monitoring the fights week to week like everybody else.
I am. I love it. I love watching fights. I love watching film. And it's a riddle to me, but actually that's one of the things I love about coaching too. Is actually probably my favorite thing about coaching fighters right now is film study. When I get it right, sometimes you get it wrong and, everything sucks when you get it wrong, but I love film study. I love watching film. I love breaking down fights.
So I think you first surfaced on my radar in 2009. I might have even ended up in a car with you at some point during season 1 of Bellator. But Jason Chambers, my broadcast partner at the time, had mentioned your name and how highly he thought of you. And here we are 14 years later. But basically, part of the reason you're here today is because of your memoir. There are no hospitals in Russia, and I'm holding it up right now so rudely covering your name. You can find it right now on Amazon.com. But essentially, after a brain aneurysm and subsequent surgery, you went from being a fighter to doing a lot of different things. You hung up the gloves, and now you write and you coach, and we'll get into your businesses obviously as well, but can you tell us a little bit about your history as far as all that is concerned and how you were able to so quickly and successfully pivot at that time in your life?
Yeah, well, after a brain aneurysm, you're kind of left with like, what the hell do you do when getting punched in the face for a living? Kenny, it's not much of a living if you're not really making a lot of money. If you're not at the higher ranks of the UFC, it's barely a living, but it's a dream, and so once you can't get punched in the head anymore, like, what do you do? And so, immediately I started pivoting, trying to do different stuff. Got a job at a financial institution. And then, I ended up going back to MMA, and I was actually on The Ultimate Fighter after I had brain surgery, got cleared to fight again. And, tried to fight. But at that point, I just sucked. It was a mental thing. Some days I would show up to fight, and other days I would freak out like I'm going to die. Like, not, I might get hit or I'm going to get hurt. Like, legitimately, I'm going to die. And you can't do that as a fighter. And so after that, I eventually just went to grad school, kind of got out of the sport for a little while, and then eventually got back into coaching. And, I'm glad I did, because I love the sport, and it's hard to just give something up 100% that you love.
Santino, I wanted to ask you about the coaching. First of all, do you follow like a system that you have every fighter that you work with kind of be a part of and follow, or do you cater training to each individual fighter when they seek your help?
So a little bit of both. All coaches, I'm assuming every coach, they have certain tendencies that we teach. There's certain things that I like to do. There's certain habits, there's certain moves, there's certain things, of course, like just on a regular level, those are things that I'm going to do, that we all tend to do. When fights come up though, everyone is individual. Like I hate trying to force things on fighters, because you might have John Jones, who's 6'4" with the longest reach on the planet. And then right next to him, we have Kelvin Gastelum, and I can't coach those two people the same. And then they're fighting different people. So everybody has a different skill set. They've got different aptitudes. They've got different bodies. Everything is so different. To try to do a one fits all, I think would be a horrible idea. Not only to the athlete, but to the fight as well. Like every fight is so different. Somebody's a southpaw, somebody's a wrestler, somebody's this, somebody's that. So every single fight is its own film study, is its own fight. And then I have to take the things that I do and my knowledge with the athlete and their skill set, coupled with the fight in front of them. And we got to have kind of a marriage of all of those things for success.
And Santino, I wanted to ask you, we were discussing earlier stoppages for fighters when they're in trouble. Is there a scenario or set of scenarios where you would stop the fight?
When Zombie was fighting Volkanovski, I looked over to Eddie Cha and I said, hey, we got to stop the fight. We got to throw this towel in. And Herb stopped it, beforehand. But that was 100% when Frankie Saenz was fighting Jonathan Martinez. In between rounds, we were like, hey, Frankie, we might have to stop this fight. Like, hey, this isn't going well. And I don't remember if we ended up stopping that or if I think that might have been Herb as well. Fights should be stopped more. Look, like, we love a comeback story. We love, like Drew Fickett fought, you know Drew Fickett from back in the day. I trained with Drew for years. He fought Koscheck and was mauled for 14 minutes and like 45 seconds. Threw a kick, kind of a knee, hit him on the way in, choked him out with like 5 seconds left. Like, we love a comeback story. We love a Cinderella story. But one, Fickett was getting out wrestled. He wasn't getting hurt. And that's the thing, man, is irreparable brain damage isn't good for anyone. And probably 99 times out of 100, it doesn't help anyone. Like, they still lose. Like, I mean, I can almost tell when a fighter's going to lose like 2 minutes into a fight. I mean, it's almost inevitable. Like, how this tide is going because the fighter and stuff. And there's no reason for these fighters to take more damage. We take so much damage. I think the Lauren Murphy fight should have been stopped. I think even the Glover fight, even though it ended up not being as bad as we thought it was going to be in that 5th round, I think that should have been stopped. It didn't change the outcome of the fight. Yeah. But what it did do is it took another year or two off of his life.
Yeah, right. Hey, by the way, in terms of Drew Fickett, so Kenny Florian, a little history with Drew Fickett. I mean, you guys probably know this, right? Combat Zone 7 gravel pit in fucking Revere, Massachusetts, July 10th, 2004. So Kenny loses a split decision, but UFC President Dana White is so impressed with Ken Flo in defeat that lays the foundation for Kenny to be on season 1 of The Ultimate Fighter. Am I fucking wrong?
That's what happened. That was the first time I actually got hit in the face in a mixed martial arts fight. So thank you, Drew, for punching me in the face.
Now, I want to ask the important question, though, is did you go out drinking with Drew after that?
I did not, but I have seen Drew out there, and he commits very hard to that.
He commits. He's full send always.
Yes, full send indeed.
So the title, excuse me, of your memoir, There Are No Hospitals in Russia. I'm curious if no sooner did you decide to write a memoir than you knew that was going to be the title, because I think it's incredible, but talk us through the title if you would.
So I was, after my brain aneurysm, the very first fight that I came back to was Bodog fight in St. Petersburg, Russia. So I hadn't fought in years. I had a brain aneurysm. I took that fight on a couple weeks notice. And actually I'd gotten married March 3rd, and we were going to have like a kind of a reception for some friends and family. And my mother flew out to Phoenix, but I got that call. And so I flew to Russia. So as I was flying to Russia, she was flying to Phoenix. So we did not have a reception. So I'm there. I'm the second fight on the card. And we're in Russia. It's a cold arena in April in Russia. Vladimir Putin is front row. So is Jean-Claude Van Damme, Silvio Berlusconi. Like, it's like, this is a thing. And I'm over here like, hey, I haven't fought in years and I have a brain aneurysm. So let's go. And so the first fight goes out, and then there's a delay with the first fight and the second fight, which I am. And I don't remember if it was the ropes or what. I think they're tightening the ropes because it was a ring, not a cage. And so as the first fighter is coming back, he is just bloodied up, battered, beaten, and he is vomiting in the shower. We're in like a hockey arena locker room, and he is vomiting in the shower and just blood everywhere, like puking up, like he's puking, and then there's blood, and you can't tell if it's blood or puke or this or that or what. And he's like, hey, I need to go to the hospital. And somebody there was like kind of half joking and half saying, they're like, a hospital? You're not going to a hospital. You're in Russia. There are no hospitals in Russia. Like, we're not doing that. And then like short, like probably 5 seconds after that, they're like, all right, DeFranco, you're up. And I'm like, huh? Like, okay, well, here we go. And anyway, so that's where the name of the memoir comes from, is that little moment right after my brain aneurysm that, coming back from it, my first fight back.
And you just said DeFranco. Are you telling me that we've all been butchering your name on live television all these years, calling you DeFranco?
Oh, for years. For years, you have been DeFrancoing it. And so everybody else is like, DeFranco, how come? And I'm like, I don't know why he says DeFranco, but I say DeFranco. And so there's that. So you have been, but I feel though, John, I feel like I can't correct you because it adds a bit of class.
Yeah, but like it's an Italian name, right? It's an Italian name though, right? When
yeah, it's an Italian
Italy,
name. It's not
it would
French.
be DeFranco. It would be DeFranco in Italy, right?
I don't know. We're not in Italy. We're in America. And we butcher things in America.
I was the first man on Saif Saud's bandwagon, and he remembers a conversation in 2013 when I approached him to get the pronunciation of his name. So, like, there's so much love for you on this program. Longo absolutely loves you, and if you know, he's on this show every week and has been since episode 1. And I think we've given you a coach of the year. I think he said you were that guy, I think in 2021. But DeFranco, oh my goodness, you know how seriously I take this pronunciation stuff. So I'm a little bit frazzled right now. I'm pitting out. I don't even know what to do.
Okay, but here's a weird thing though. I'm weird with pronunciations. My name, so growing up, my name is Santino. Everyone, my entire family, everybody, like everyone who has ever met me when I was growing up is Santino. It's Santino. Like my father is like Santino. My sisters call me Santino. Everybody growing up, my name is Santino. And I intentionally switched it kind of as an adult because nobody knows what the hell I'm saying. And so you go to Starbucks, you go anywhere, and I'm like, hey, Santino. And they're like, what? I'm like, Santino. And so for years, this would go on. So now I've started like really like enunciating Santino. So people are like, oh, that's an A, not a what the hell is that? And so I don't even pronounce my own name correctly.
All right.
So you pronounce it how you want, John.
Oh, well,
like
no.
DeFranco.
Now I'm going Santino DeFranco. I'm doing, no, it's personal preference. But yes, we're going to have you say your name to tape for the UFC, I think. We have a few more minutes with the great Santino DeFranco, author of There Are No Hospitals in Russia, a great memoir. So we could obviously spend hours with you. But a lot of elite talent at Fight Ready. I mean, Jonathan Pierce's name is obviously in my notes. I was asked recently to come up with 3 UFC fighters who are not ranked right now, who will be ranked at the end of 2023. And it effectively blew my mind that JSP doesn't have a number next to his name. But Jonathan Pierce, obviously you go way back with Tracy Cortez. I do believe she'll realize a UFC title fight at some point in time. John Jones is walking through those doors. So a lot of exciting things going on right now, needless to say, in the greater Arizona area out there, my man.
Yeah, it's pretty good, man. I'm fortunate to have had, because there's probably a lot better coaches out there than me. They're not in the area. They don't have the access. They haven't done the things, they just haven't had the exposure that I have. So I'm really fortunate to be where I'm at with who I'm with. I live a very nice life with a silver spoon in my mouth.
Hmm. So you and I go way back, and I remember around the time you bought this gas station, this Shell gas station in Phoenix. And now it seems like you also own, and perhaps they are one and the same, but a crispy, crunchy chicken franchise, perhaps at the same location. But I just remember when you were starting out on this endeavor, and now you're probably fucking killing it. So what do you have for us on that?
So here's a weird thing about owning a gas station is actually as gas prices go up, that kills me. That kills me so much. I'm not an oil company. I wish I was getting like Shell oil money, but I don't. I get crispy, crunchy chicken revenue. And so when gas prices go up, it actually shrinks into my margin, but my cost of goods sold goes way up, goes through the roof. But then people buy less gas, and then they're in my store less, so they buy less merchandise as well. So it really cripples me. But then, of course, when gas prices drop, I get those costs of goods back. And then slowly the whole thing kind of helps out. But I love it, man. I really like it. It's way more work than I ever thought, and it's more regulated than anything I could have ever imagined. The permits, the health permits, the gas permits. I mean, I have underground tanks. I'm getting hit with permit fees and, you know, everything that you can get hit with every single day. But man, if I could quit everything and go own 27 gas stations and like just be slinging gas, just spouting it off to everybody out there, man, I'd probably ride into the sunset.
Well, that's great, man. And it's really great to see you find your footing in all these different areas. We're obviously all thrilled that you decided to get back in the MMA space. And needless to say, you've carved out more than a niche. So congratulations on everything. If you want more from Santino DeFranco on social media, it's just like that. One word, Santino DeFranco. And I'm going to commit that to the brainstem. We'll get it right on the air next time. But
now how are they going to spell it? See, if you say Santino,
well, I know how to spell it
out every time.
I know how to spell it.
Yeah,
I know that there is absolutely no fucking right. I know there's no fucking space between DE and Franco.
Oh, hey, before I go, I got to fight about that with my wife because she is like everyone's like, oh, this is a thing. She's like, you know, people ask, oh, is it DE capital F or lowercase f? And I'm like, I don't know, it doesn't matter. And she's like, no, it matters. Like this is like. It does matter. And they're like, oh, you know, people ask, is there a space between DE and the F? And I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. She's like, no, there is a freaking, like this stuff matters. So what I've decided, because I've had to make a hard stand on this, is it's capital D, lowercase e, no space,
right?
Capital F.
Yes.
And so that's how we do things around here.
Well, yeah, and we're an attention to detail podcast. So if you check our show rundown today, you can be sure that your name was spelled correctly. And I will say, in terms of it mattering or not on the way out, the space thing really fucking matters because our lead pay-per-view producer, Michael LaPlante, has had to deal with that space between law and plant his whole life. And it's been a real pain in the ass. So be thankful you don't have the space. Santino,
I'll take it.
Go ahead. All right. Santino DeFranco, have a great rest of your day, buddy. We appreciate the time.
Thanks, guys.
See you, man.
Santino DeFranco joining us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. I mean, that's really going to fuck with me. We got both of those names wrong.